It's an age-old question. Men don't fully understand what it's like to be a woman. Women don't fully understand what it's like to be a man. Yet we still have to live with each other and try and understand each other. Hopefully, some of the stories here will shed some light on one side of this. Women, what's something important you think men really don't understand about being a woman? Story 1. Intercourse. Birth control specifically. A lot of girls get on birth control because they want to have intimacy without getting pregnant. Birth control mucks up your body sometimes. I was on it for 10 years, and for a while I had to deal with weight gain, bloating, acne, edema, irregular periods, and dryness in my vagina, which made intimacy painful unless I had lube. And that's not even close to all of it. By the way, if a girl suggests lube, don't take that as an offense. My boyfriend never lubed me up enough, even if I was turned on. Guys don't even acknowledge the struggle birth control side effects can have on a woman. Not to mention the health effects, money. Birth control can be very expensive, much more than condoms and other male birth control, and time. Taking it every day at the exact same time that it requires to be on it. All they see is intercourse without a condom. Yay! I don't need to buy them anymore. Guys can just slap a half-old damaged condom in their wallet and call it a day. Of course, the women chose to be on it because, and sometimes it's for other dilemmas, but the fact that guys will never have to go through this, and the fact that they will be able to get more pleasure out of the woman's expense is something they won't ever understand. God, this annoys me to no end. I hooked up with a guy once a couple years ago, but we didn't have intercourse because he didn't have a condom. Later, he asked me why I wasn't on birth control. I was flabbergasted, like, oh, I don't know. 1, I don't want to take it because of the side effects. 2, I wasn't seeing anyone prior to this encounter, so pregnancy was never an issue. And 3, take off and carry condoms because you're just as responsible, you jerk. I didn't go out with him again. I stopped taking it because of the effects it took on my body. Many girls I know don't take it because of the side effects. Guys usually don't like condoms because they can't feel as much. But I'd rather they use a damn condom that's in good condition instead of me losing hair and being moody 24/7. Not to mention the amount of money I'd save. Half the guys can't even find the actual man in the boat, and when I tell them, their egos get hurt. I feel like a woman's pleasure should be equal to theirs when having intercourse, not one above the other. And frankly, intercourse is usually in favor of the guy in my situations. I've only had a small awareness of what girls have to go through versus guys. I don't think I'd ever complain about having to use a condom. I know every once in a while they try to have some sort of pill or birth control shot for men. It seems like as soon as any side effects happen, then things just shut down and guys just opt not to do it. I don't really think that's fair. Story 2. The non-stop mental energy we devote to maintaining our safety. In public, at work, in every interaction we have with a man we don't know well. And sadly, sometimes also with men we do know well, in our homes, in our cars, on the internet. It doesn't ever stop. I'm not saying I live my life in fear. It's so ingrained that I wouldn't even personally call it a burden, but it's certainly additional mental red tape. Every single decision or circumstance needs to be evaluated, often instantaneously. Not the person you're replying to, but a 24-year-old woman who can chime in with one of the things I personally think is pretty helpful. It may not be universal, but you probably won't offend or intimidate anyone with this. If you're introducing yourself to a woman in public, the least threatening way is to introduce yourself and then give her an out. If you're at a bar, approach her and say, "Hey, I'm so-and-so. I think you're really cute. Insert compliment of your choice here. I'll be over there for a while if you want to talk." Basically, introduce yourself, state your intention, and go away. It puts no pressure on her if she's not interested, but opens a clear opportunity if she is. If it's not a romantic or intimate attraction, you can use the same formula and tailor it to whatever is appropriate. Personally, any time a guy has introduced himself in public and left right away, giving me the option for follow-up, It feels much more comfortable than a guy who's just gonna hang around. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Hanging around is always the part I feel most uncertain about also. I see how maybe it's not universal, but I think it's a really good way to let someone have a choice. Thanks for responding. I never thought of this before. Very smart suggestion, and not just for the security or safety reasons outlined. Lifeline for all those nervous males out there without malevolent intent who are too shy to say hello. You know who you are. I also think this has a benefit for the guy as well. If he introduces himself and then just goes away, if she doesn't come back over and reciprocate, it's not as traumatic as getting rejected right to your face in public. It does kind of put things on equal ground. The guy has reached out and stated his intention. Now it's the girl's turn to reach out and state her intention. Fair's fair. Story 3. How often we're silenced, shut down, or just never taken seriously. Whenever we seek medical attention, we're told it's just our cycle and get sent home with Midol. Whenever we speak up in the workplace, we're told we're being too shrewy. Whenever we try to seek justice for being assaulted, our characters get eviscerated in court. Even here online, users will flock in droves to scream, "Not all men," if a woman opens up about being assaulted by a man. All to deliberately divert the conversation away from very real issues that women across the world have to deal with. If I had $1 for every time I've been told to calm down when I'm right and frustrated that no one is taking what I'm saying seriously, or "Don't interrupt me when I'm talking," well, if you would just take a breath and let me speak, I could clear the whole thing up and end this miserable interaction in about 5 words. I love the men in my life right now. They're amazing people. But the not taking a woman seriously thing still happens, and they're completely unaware of it. Even playing games, they're overwhelmingly less likely to take my advice on a task. I can call out a way to solve a puzzle or give an answer at trivia, and they almost flat out ignore the suggestion. Unless another guy calls out the exact same thing, or they spend 5 minutes trying to solve it, then stumble upon the same thing I said after 15 attempts. If I say, "Yeah, I said that," I sometimes get that I'm being sensitive for even saying I knew. Like, guys, what the hell? If 5+ people are ignoring you when you know you have a decent suggestion, it's annoying. And acknowledging I knew doesn't make me defensive. I'm trying to let you know that even with a vagina, I still have a functioning brain. I wonder how many women are now trying to find women doctors. They're probably hoping to have some sort of sympathy for their plight because the woman would know what they're going through. Was it ever likely that the woman doctor would treat them the same as the male doctor? I kind of think it would be very hard to find someone that would do that. Story 4. That the threat of being physically overpowered feels very real. Not just in the context of being physically assaulted, but in general. The lingering feeling that if this dude really wanted to, he could unalive me with his bare hands. I guess this could be gender nonspecific, but being generally on edge and female doesn't help with the sizing people up in case they try to lunge at me or something issue. Just being smaller than anyone sort of puts me on edge, and I've heard from other women they have similar thoughts. I encourage every woman to try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's not a miracle pill that would make you invincible, but in my opinion, it's the only martial art that gives the smaller, weaker person a real shot at not just surviving a violent attack, but subduing their attacker. I've been training for around 2 years and have gotten my butt kicked by women plenty of times. I've also seen a lot of beginner men with fragile egos quit because they've gotten choked out by a woman smaller than them. I'm a purple belt, and honestly, I can say that the fear of being overpowered is still there. If anything, it's more real now than it was before. I've been injured so many times by spazzy white belt guys who just straight up don't understand that they can easily break something with their flailing. I know that despite all my years of training, all of the sparring, all of the competitions, in my featherweight and in absolutes, a big enough dude could easily hurt me anyway. Sure, I have a much better shot now than I did before, but that fear doesn't go away. Although I do enjoy crushing the occasional ego, and I'd like to encourage men to do better. Story 5. Having big breasts sucks. Oh yeah, they're squishy, sure, and you can bury your face in them because, for whatever reason, you enjoy doing that. But from my personal experience, they're a goddamn nuisance. Starting from when I was a kid, boys used to try and throw stuff down my shirts. It became such a big problem that the principal got involved, and that was humiliating. Then in high school, my best friend and I were called the Double D Twins. That was totally annoying. Then also in high school, I went to get my nails done at some nail salon, and the two lady owners wouldn't stop grabbing them. They also didn't speak English well, so I don't know what the hell were they doing. Again in high school, I was top student and won an award. My parents showed up to watch me walk across the stage to accept it, and at the last minute, the principal told me I couldn't go get my award because of my outfit. Meanwhile, other girls were wearing spaghetti straps. My mom confronted the principal, and he admitted it was because the shirt made my breasts look too big. What the hell? Also, I have to wear 2 sports bras to do any exercise. After 2 kids that were near suffocated while breastfeeding, my breasts now practically touch my knees. I can't even find clothing that fits over my breasts and isn't a tent everywhere else. The hurt after I take my bra off. If I lay on my back, they touch my chin, and that's an awful feeling. The list could go on forever. Seriously, they suck. Story 6. It's kind of astounding how much of our daily lives we plan around potentially being assaulted by a man. I'd better not wear these outfits on the subway today because the last time I did, a man kept pressing his erection up against me on the train. I'd better not take these streets to work because the last time I did, men working there yelled obscene things at me. I'd better not leave work too late because the last time I did, a man started to follow me in the subway. I'd better not take this Lyft or Uber alone because the last time I did, the male driver made uncomfortable advances. I'd better not run errands after it gets too dark because the last time I did, a man strangled me in my car in the store parking lot. I'd better not drink too much because the last time I did, a man took advantage of me. I'd better not let my drink out of my sight because the last time I did, I got roofied. I better tell my sister to text me when she gets home in case something bad happens. I better carry mace on me in case something bad happens. I better hold my keys in between my fingers when walking alone in case something bad happens. These are the things I have to tell myself daily. Not that men don't have things to worry about, but they honestly have no idea. I'm tired of constantly living in fear. I'm so tired. Me too. I just want a break. It's sad to see that those things have to be at the very front of your mind all the time. I can understand why some women are always on edge. They have to act the way they do because they don't know who is going to be an attacker. They don't know who is just trying to be a friend. That's awful. Story 7. 1. How scary it is every time you go out at night alone, whether it's walking to your car or getting gas. 2. How expensive bras are. The first bra I've ever had that's been fully supportive was $105. My others that don't do anything are $30 to $60. 3. What's with the luxury tax on tampons and pads? How are those luxuries? How are those considered luxuries but condoms aren't? People aren't gonna stop having intercourse, but there's no easy way at all out of your period. Plus the ruined clothes and sheets. 4. Oh, and I can't forget about my chronic back pain from 10% of my body weight being on my chest. There's a forum for you ladies that haven't seen it. Finding a good-fitting bra is hard when you haven't been measured correctly. Measure yourself and see. My most expensive bra is $125. My best-fitting bra was ordered from Poland. Yes, mine is from France. Victoria's Secret told me I was a 32 double D. Turns out I'm a 32F. Makes a lot more sense. Oh my God, you poor thing. That's a lot of weight to be hauling. Glad you found the right supplier. Story 8. I recently had a potential date from a dating app. He asked me to come to his house, and I politely declined, saying I'm not going to a man's house for a first date, but happy to get drinks or dinner somewhere, or even just go for a walk. He responded, "Is that just a baseless general rule, or do you have a reason for it?" I responded, A few reasons. 1, it sounds like a hookup, and that is so not me. And 2, just safety-wise. You've never been a woman in the dating world, but going to someone's house who you've never met on a first date is generally a no-no. He went on a tirade saying I'm just assuming the worst, and if he were a woman in the dating world, he wouldn't do that, and I was being awful and short-sighted. Boy, bye. How nice of him to show you how inconsiderate and stupid he is right away. That public setting for the first date rule is not only safe and normal, but also weeds out the jerkwads. Story 9. The real landmine that is responding to DMs. If I ignore you, I'm a shrew. If I'm friendly, I'm leading you on. If I tell you I'm married right off the bat, I'm conceited for assuming that you are trying to flirt with me, even if you very clearly were. That sucks, baby. I would never do that to someone as beautiful and smart as you. See, guys? See? That's how obvious it looks to every woman. They've consumed an entire smorgasbord of flirting by the time they're out of high school. They know what you're doing. Just stop it. This is so true. Wait, why are people DMing you to begin with? Is that legitimately something random people do? If so, that's completely weird. It's like walking up to a stranger and trying to strike up a conversation without any prompting. Edit. Some of these responses are surreal. I knew this stuff happened somewhat, but not that it was, I guess, so commonplace. That sucks, and I'm sorry to hear it for anyone who has to put up with that stuff. Chris Rock said it that at a very young age, girls are constantly getting advances and attention from guys. Very early on, they have to deal with all this stuff, so they've developed the ability to know very well when something's happening. And for some reason, guys still think they can get away with this kind of behavior. It's like the definition of insanity. You keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 10. We're not all the same. We have different opinions and taste. I met a lot of men over the years that think we're all kind of similar. Women are like this, women like that. No. For example, some women like shopping, others don't. If we tried to know each other as persons, things would be a lot better. I get so totally mad when I hear the stereotype, women are bad with money. No, jerkwads, some women can't budget, and some can. I feel that this stereotype doesn't apply in Asia, but I've heard of it a lot, and it was said to me even by women. The one that gets me every time is, how are you that good with directions? Women usually get lost. From what I understand in several Asian households, I know for Koreans, the husbands hand their paychecks to their wives, and the wives handle the household finances. Story 11. The fact that at this time half the comments here have a reply under them saying, actually, men experience being scared walking at night, having others assume you're dumb, people constantly interrupting or not listening to you, 2, being part of the issue when we talk about our problems constantly being minimized. As soon as you bring up female genitalia mutilation, in comes some guy talking about circumcision. They aren't even remotely close. This one gets me the most. FGM is one of the most horrific things I can imagine. And when you try to explain how FGM and circumcision aren't comparable and or try to redirect the conversation back to the subject at hand, you're instantly bombarded with accusations that you don't care about this horrible practice that so many boys are subjected to without their consent. And again, the horrors of FGM are completely ignored. It's so depressing. Facts. Instead of taking the time to listen and giving us a platform, they need to make the conversation about them. Story 12. Period cramps and how painful they can be. Some days I'm literally writhing on the couch from the pain, and not even ibuprofen or ice can help. It can last hours, and it feels like someone is constantly chewing my uterus with sharp fangs. If I say I'm staying home from work or school for period cramps, I'm not being a wimp. I can't even think through the pain. It's not every period that I get them that bad, but when I do, whoo, boy. I'm a lesbian, and I don't think my own girlfriend understood how much pain I was in during my period because I have endometriosis. I had excision surgery last year, and it really sunk in for her when the surgeon showed images of my ovary fused to my abdomen wall. Holy hell, I knew endo is bad, but literally fusing across organs is absolutely insane. Mother Nature damaged you gals bad. Yes, my uterus and intestines were fused together. Had to have 3 surgeries. We all have heard so many jokes about periods and menstrual cramps. It's something that's very easy for guys to make light of, apparently. The problem with those jokes is it kind of makes it feel like, oh, it's not real or it's exaggerated. I can't even think of anything monthly that guys go through that's even remotely painful. Story 13. We are not your mom. You can cook and clean. Your orbs will not automatically shrivel up. Yes, if you live here, eat half the food, take half the showers, wear half the clothes, you should be helping out. The home is not strictly the woman's domain, like you're just a guest here. I don't call it helping either. My ex got drunk on my birthday and forgot about it. Then later, when I told him I was upset, he tried to say that he vacuumed and cooked me dinner, scrambled eggs, and that he'd done that to make my day special. No, dude. Cooking and doing chores does not get you extra brownie points. That is the minimum that you should be doing as a roommate or partner. Needless to say, him getting mad at me for telling him my feelings was the last straw. Broke up with him 2 days later and made him move out. Story 14. The pill isn't just to prevent pregnancy. It makes your periods more manageable. Some of us bleed heavily enough to be anemic without it. Me? I'm one of those I used to pass out from blood loss and pain every month and just thought it was normal. You should get checked for endometriosis if you haven't already. 1 out of 10 women have it, so it's stupidly common. But 1, it's a woman's illness, and 2, it's connected to menstruation, meaning it's easier to tell women, that's normal, take a painkiller and suck it up. Yes, yes, and yes, I love the pill. I have such quick and pain-free periods on them. But off the pill, I often have to skip work. My period pain is so bad. Story 15. Just how much pressure is on us when we have a family? I feel like a lot of men think women should be the ones to do the majority of housework, cooking, and raising kids. It's a lot of pressure, and women need breaks from it all too. Edit. Spelling. During lockdown, my pregnant friend worked from home full-time while trying to homeschool her 6-year-old. She was stressed the hell out with the teachers emailing her, and she just couldn't keep up with it all. Her husband was furloughed, so he was home and caught up on a lot of sleep. I wanted to stab him, I swear. Story 16. Walking alone in the dark and being yelled at by a group of men. Doesn't have to be in the dark, and doesn't have to be yelling, just staring or walking behind, or followed in a car. In my college years, I had someone follow me on side streets. My car couldn't handle the freeway, so I took a long route home for almost 20 miles. Instead of going home, I parked in the police station down the street from my house, and the guy following me drove away. One of the scariest nights of my life. Or walking alone and having a man follow you. Story 17. How often we are called a shrew for turning down someone's advances. Or a party girl, which I've never understood. Or just how scary it can be to be hit on by a stranger. How will he react when I turn him down? Will I get a polite, I understand? Or is he going to literally unalive me? Yep, I mentioned this in a longer answer above, but when men hit on me in public, I calmly, neutrally decline their advances. Over 90% of the time, their reaction is anger, sometimes accompanied by threats or following me. It's just not fair. Story 18. The guts it takes to open up about being intimately harassed. Not saying guys don't go through intimate harassment. It's just that I find that when I've opened up about past experiences, it goes in one ear and out the other. Or people don't want to believe you, which is heartbreaking. Or they do believe you, but think you're conceited for telling them how many times you've been hit on. Yes, there are so many cases where they say that the victim was asking for it. Like, no, you just have no self-control and you're the bad guy here. Story 19. It's not necessarily personal when we're wary or afraid of you. It's the men before you that have shown that we need to be careful. When you're at a physical disadvantage, that fear heightens no matter the intentions of the other party. Hell, yes, I've experienced this. Every other woman vouching for men they know. He's fine. I know he won't hurt a fly. Or, I raised him. He's a decent lad. This is all fine and dandy, but why is it a problem if I take reasonable precautions for my safety? Story 20. Getting your period along with everything the hormones do to you. Oh God, the hormones are so weird. You can anticipate them coming, but you can't make them go away. Sometimes I'll just cry when I'm literally not sad at all. Like to the point I start cracking up because I'm sobbing for no reason. It's very startling to my husband. I came here to say exactly this. Hormones suck. We don't always know why we're upset. If all else fails, blame the goddamn hormones. It's usually their fault anyway. Story 21. Pads don't literally attach to your vagina, and period pads are not the same as bladder pads. I have seen women post about their significant others making that mistake. I'm a woman and I don't know what bladder pads are. Lord help me. Just asked my husband where he thinks pads go, and he confidently said the wings stick to your thighs. They really have no clue. God forbid he'd have to teach our future daughter these things. Story 22. Some women have to fake an illness such as a headache, as no isn't good enough when it comes to intercourse. I don't think they understand that if a woman isn't in the mood, intercourse can be uncomfortable and even painful. I too wish more men would take no for an answer. Story 23. Novelist Margaret Atwood writes that when she asked a male friend why men feel threatened by women, he answered, "They're afraid women will laugh at them." When she asked a group of women why they feel threatened by men, they said, "We're afraid of being unalived." Story 24. How catcalling is so uncomfortable. When a man or several start whistling and shouting at me from across the street, I feel so unsafe, especially being by myself. It's not a compliment. Like my body is not for you to comment on just because I exist. Story 25. That women's general motivations in life are not significantly different from men's, and that women are no more of a monolith of motivational drives than men are. Basically, we're just like you in the brain, with all the complexity that involves. Story 26. Just because we enjoy having intercourse and talking about it doesn't mean we want to do those things with you. Some guys see it as an invitation to be creepy when you mention anything remotely intimate. Story 27. The intimacy revolution was about being allowed to openly enjoy any and all kinds of intimate activities. It was not about being required to participate in any and all kinds of intimate activities. Story 28. How frustrating it is to have a guy explain a problem we're experiencing to another guy because we wouldn't be seen as serious if it was us. Story 29. Just because penetration is enough to get you off doesn't mean it's enough to get us off.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.